Well, now it's time for Ag on 8, where we share ag news impacting you. Well, the USDA is all in, putting more resources towards a fly factory in Texas. Their goal, to keep cattle safe. The new facility is part of the United States' biggest investment, fighting off New World screwworm. New World screwworm is a flesh-eating parasite, and it's been found in Mexico less than 400 miles from the United States. And get this factory will make up to 300 million sterile flies every week. The USDA is putting $100 million towards breeding these flies. They're also creating fly traps, and they're hiring more tick riders. Those are people who patrol the border on horseback, keeping an eye out for those pests. Well, the Trump administration also saying they have a plan to change trucks and other diesel engines. Now, right now, when a vehicle runs out of DEF, or diesel exhaust fluid, it causes the truck to slow down. But the EPA says this can cause problems for farmers and other drivers. Now, since 2010, most diesel trucks and equipment have used DEF to lower exhaust emissions. But the new rules will give drivers more time to refill DEF and make fixes before their vehicle eventually shuts off. These rules are mandatory for diesel models starting in 2027, but the changes are voluntary for vehicles on the road today and equipment that isn't on the road. Well, this week, Deere & Company announcing more layoffs are coming. Now, here's a breakdown of where those cuts are coming from. 115 people are being laid off at Harvester Works in East Moline, and 52 people at Seeding and Cylinder in Moline, and 71 people at Foundry in Waterloo, Iowa. Now, Deere's blaming the struggling ag economy for these cuts, saying they've decreased demand and lowered order volumes right now. Well, new numbers predicting the outcome of this year's corn crop could be a concern for farmers. This week, the USDA's World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimate releasing its latest report, which predicts this year will be a record U.S. corn crop, over 1 billion more bushels than last year. And that's why I talked with Steve Johnson, a retired Iowa State University farm extension specialist, and he breaks down what this means and where this corn is likely to go. How are you today, Steve?
I'm doing great. Things are going well in Iowa. It's Iowa State Fair. It's the last weekend. I'm pretty tired from being at the fair. Other than that, everything's going well, and we got a big corn crop.
Exactly. Well, I want to jump right into that. I mean, what do these numbers mean for farmers?
There's just going to be a lot of corn. This is the largest corn crop we've ever produced. Again, we're going to set new yield records for Iowa, 222, Illinois, 221. And it means we're going to have lower corn prices that had been projected earlier. But the good news is, Haley, the good marketers, the farmers that did a good job of pre-harvest marketing this crop, it's going to be a great year. And we're going to have a lot of bushels that we've got to figure out where we're going to store come this fall.
Now, is this new high because more acres have been planted, or why is this number so historic?
It's a combination. We basically planted roughly 7 million more corn acres, but it's also a record corn yield. So the fact is that when Illinois increases corn acres and Iowa increases corn acres, and that's 1-2. Iowa's number one in corn, Illinois is number one in soybeans. It's just this combination. We just had great growing weather. And so again, it's a projection. USDA will come back and do a survey again in early September. So we won't know the final size of this crop until January, but it's pretty obvious it's a large crop. It's a record crop across the nation, but especially the I states. Iowa, Illinois are going to have to deal with a lot of bushels of corn.
And with commodity prices already fairly low, is a large crop going to make them even lower?
I think the market's already reacted to that. It's a combination of lower futures. The key number that USDA released on Tuesday was the fact that we're going to have a weighted average cash price for the marketing year of $3.90, and we haven't seen a price like that for at least 6 or 7 years. So yeah, I think it is going to be a challenge to put this crop away, get the crop harvested and then put it away, and then try to figure out what marketing strategies we're going to use to finish marketing the rest of the crop. So yeah, I think the good news is it's a record corn crop. And the tough news is we're going to have lower prices in all likelihood for the next 8 to 12 months.
And it's very interesting. We just talked with someone about crop disease because we've had some crop disease in our area, but that doesn't sound like it's a reality across the board. Is that what you're hearing too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the size of the crop is more determined by the planted acres and then germination, which was excellent, and pollination. And we pollinated this corn into pretty ideal conditions. So, yeah, there's going to be some issues of diseases, that fungicides that were going to be applied. But I still think as long as the crop is standing well and we get into late September, it's going to be a long harvest, and it's going to be a challenge to figure out what to do with all these extra bushels.
And bushels are good, but bottom line is really where it's at. I mean, what are farmers going to have at the end of this year when it really comes down to it?
Well, I think those that did a good job of marketing, and that's what I teach. I'm in Illinois 3 weeks a year teaching. I think they're going to be really rewarded. They're going to have beat the system because they're delivering bushels at harvest, or they're delivering bushels that are in their storage that won't be as big a problem. The farmers that didn't really have a marketing plan, that wait to see the size of the crop, there's going to be some challenges, and there's going to be some financial challenges. The meetings I'm doing this winter in Illinois are typically sponsored by banks. And so I think working with your lender, making sure your lender's aware that you've got these extra bushels, but figure out what you're going to do with the extra bushels. I'm suggesting not building grain bins now, and have a plan rather than just store them commercially. Maybe these bushels need to move at harvest or shortly thereafter, and then you're rewarding yourself with those extra bushels, even though that price is going to be likely sub $4, except around the ethanol plants.
Well, Steve, thanks for your insight. We appreciate it today.
My pleasure.
After about a year of construction, Cambridge FFA cut the ribbon on a new ag building. Marshawn Gunn gives us a look inside and tells us about how it can help students build skills inside and outside of the ag industry.
4 years ago, Ellie Dubit had to take an Intro to Agriculture class. It wasn't exactly a choice, as all 8th graders were required to take it.
So I took it and I thought, I live in town, I'm not sure I'm gonna like this agriculture thing.
But after just 1 year in the program,
I realized how much fun I had and how important agriculture is in our community and all over the world.
Ellie's a senior now, and president of the Cambridge FFA chapter, helping lead the school into a new chapter.
We're so excited to have you all here. Dream big. If you won the lottery, what is the thing that you would want for your ag program?
In its 80th year, and after over a year of construction, the Cambridge FFA has a new building.
And the outside of the building looks great, but it's really what's on the inside of the building, which is what is going to help students.
2 new classrooms, an agriculture science lab, even a wet lab to learn about live animals.
This building gives us so many opportunities with the classrooms that we have.
Although many relate FFA to agriculture, that's not all the program is about. Actually, that's not even what Ellie wants to do after high school.
I want to go into the healthcare field.
But through FFA, she's still learning all of the life lessons she'll need to know for her entire life.
I've learned better communication and working with people, and I'm not afraid to speak up, and has definitely helped me step out of my comfort zone.
In Cambridge, Marshawn Gunn, WQAD News 8.
A big project in Comanche is under construction. The Rock Creek Energy Center is about 600 acres touching Clinton and Comanche. The company behind it, NextEra, says it will generate up to 150 megawatts. Now that's enough to power 30,000 homes. It will also pay about $300,000 a year to the county, cities, and the school districts. Maddie Franz was out in Comanche, and their local officials say it will generate more than just electricity.
Out in rural Clinton County, some landowners are welcoming a different kind of farm onto their land.
The number one reason for bringing it here is we have a community that was welcoming.
Megan Murphy-Salyer leads the Rock Creek Solar Project.
We are celebrating the breaking of ground for the Rock Creek Energy Center.
She says NextEra Energy Resources also picked this location for its connection to the energy grid and local governments willing to work with the company.
But without those landowners interested, the project doesn't happen.
Well, I'm on board just because I think this is the direction our world needs to take.
Keith Boysen is one of those landowners and a third-generation farmer. He says he supports green energy efforts and the preservation of the land below the solar panels.
To remove panels and pull the pilings is a very simple process, quick to be done, and it can be returned to whatever type of food production that may be needed.
We as Grow Clinton, we're bringing future businesses to the area. The number one thing they're asking about is utilities, and power.
And having green energy puts the county on the map for manufacturers.
This project was very simple.
Clinton County Supervisor Jim Irwin helped create the solar ordinance back in 2022. He says one of the concerns he heard about the project was that power would be sent off to Chicago, but Midwestern provider Alliant Energy has committed to purchasing the power.
That is a huge, huge positive outcome for Clinton County.
For Boysen, the final destination and money from the lease agreement aren't too important.
You know, wherever that power can flow to where it's needed, if it's a surplus, is beneficial to the state of Iowa and to our country.
He says he's glad to be a part of the project and watch it come to fruition.
Well, now we turn to a crop update in eastern Iowa, where an agronomist at Iowa State University says it's one of the best crops some farmers have ever seen. However, gray leaf spot, northern corn leaf blight, and tar spot are all visible on corn plants, but they aren't causing severe damage. And on soybeans, they haven't been hit as hard with these diseases. But as we turn to northwestern Illinois, one agronomist says some farmers are struggling with plant sickness, and that's mostly due to hail and wind damage from July. Hey there, John. How are you today?
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Well, these corn and soybean plants in northern Illinois are facing those mature levels, but some farmers are telling me that they're seeing some diseases. Why is that?
Well, without doing that's a great question. And obviously, as you take a look at northern Illinois and northwest Illinois, and obviously many parts of Iowa, yes, we are seeing levels of foliar disease in corn. And, you know, if you think about that, the reason for that is not to get specific on plant pathology, but if you think of a disease triangle, basically where we have the host, meaning the plant, we have the pathogen, obviously, that is in some of the specific disease complexes. And then, of course, we've had the environment for it as well, too. So with that said, we've had conditions where we've had moisture, leaf wetness for a long time, ups and downs on temperature and humidity. So the environment has played a lot into that as far as the disease triangle goes. Some of the main diseases that we see foliar in corn would be year in and year out, gray leaf spot, levels of tar spot, obviously in the last 5 years, a little bit of northern corn leaf blight, which comes in when it's cooler temperatures. And then a new complex outside of bacterial leaf streak is southern rust, which started in the southeast. We've seen some movement in the air with those spores, and then with the hot and humid conditions has kind of ramped that up in certain fields. Now, I would caution, you know, good scouting, just because there's levels of disease, maybe on the outside of the field or in the lower canopy, it's really at this point in the growing season is what's the mid to upper canopy look like for disease and disease protection. So those are the complexes that we see in corn right now. And the reason for that is mostly environmental. Now, varieties, Pioneer, we look at ratings and tolerance, and it's hard to combat all of that, but we do a pretty good job on trying to see where we're at on that. So that's in the corn area. Soybeans, you're basically looking at your main diseases in northwest Illinois as white mold, but we're seeing a level of sudden death in the last week to 10 days come in as well, too.
And what counties up in our area are being hit the hardest by those diseases?
Well, I mean, and I would say, and when we quantify disease in northern Illinois, northeast Illinois, and through the state, there's always varying levels within each field. So it isn't like you've got this massive drop of disease all over. But the counties that I cover, you know, basically the north two-tier counties, and we're seeing levels of those complexes of disease that I talked about in, you know, virtually every county to some degree. So that's, you know, basically, it's not hard to find, I guess, in this year.
And how does that compare to other years? I mean, I know that there's diseases in fields all the time, but is this more of a big impact this year?
Well, I think there is a higher level than in recent years, but we always have some level, I think, in northern Illinois, because we have our rotation is a lot of continuous corn. So the host crop being corn, residue carryover, we're always going to have probably some level of gray leaf spot. And then like northern corn leaf blight, that takes cooler temperatures, so that's doesn't always happen. But the southern rust, I would say, is just more of a year effect, more so. I've seen it in the past a little bit, but this year it really kind of played into that. Now tar spot is just been prevalent, obviously, for the last 5, 6 years. So with all that said, we do have the ability from a management standpoint to try to mitigate some of this, obviously through variety selection and then fungicide and disease management and good scouting. And I see that across our area. There's a lot of eyes on the crop, and it's pretty impressive to see that.
I know not too far from here, there was a lot of storm damage about a month and a half ago to 2 months ago. Is that playing a role in this? I've heard some farmers saying that's really opened their fields up to infection.
Yeah, so the couple hot spots, not fortunately, when you get those hail and that storm like that, we've had some wind, so we've had a little bit of root lodging, those types of things. But the hail, I believe it was about July 10th that came through in Northwest Illinois. Pretty devastating in some of the specific areas we had. It's not a big footprint, but in my area, I had some in certainly Carroll County and Lee County. So to your point or question, anytime you get that level of hail and you damage that plant, and at that time we were in corn, we were just starting to tassel and we were silking. Some of the early varieties were just pollinating, and you strip the leaves off, but at the same time you're damaging that just freshly pollinated ear. So it's pretty impactful. There's a couple areas, like you said, where we have hail, and they're going to fall into kind of that bucket of, hey, damaged crop this year. But from a disease standpoint, yeah, they're fair game when you take the plant and you damage it like that. It's fair game to have entry for disease, and you're concerned about stalk quality and all those types of issues. So it's depending on the severity. Now soybeans, on the other hand, even though it's severe, they have somewhat of an ability to certainly recover and compensate, but they still, you damage the stems and things like that. And so it's a concern. And, it had a couple areas where it hit pretty hard, as you well know.
And what does this mean overall for yields? I mean, across the board, it's hearing like there's going to be a record corn crop, but if there's some of these issues happening, are those farmers going to be able to reap any benefit of a good harvest?
Well, with all that said, if we talk about disease and things like that, we actually, when we have moisture like this outside of crop damage, which it affects those acres when you get hail and things like that, it's concentrated, but it's not the big footprint. So, to speak to where we are nationally and things like that, I think in northern and northwest Illinois, we've got the potential, because we've got April planted corn, good planting dates. We've had moisture. We've got some potential for some good crop, obviously, and it's all gonna, from here on out, it's all basically gonna matter is how that plant manages itself and finishes in grain fill for disease protection. And then in turn, what kind of fall we can get to harvest the crop. I always say earlier is better. So if we can harvest this crop early, and growers like to do that. As soon as they'll go every day, as you well know. And I think that's a big thing. You want to grab that crop and get it out. So impactfully, I think at 3 buckets, you got some really probably good corn out there, and soybeans yet to be seen in soybeans, because finish out August. There's a bucket of kind of not sure because of many factors this year. So it doesn't mean that second bucket is a bust, so to speak, but it's not what the first bucket is, so to speak. And then you have some of the damaged areas. So that's my look at where we are right now on that.
Is there anything else that we should be aware of going forward in this growing season?
Well, that's a greit question. It's an exciting time of year. We have a lot of eyes on the crop. There's a lot of looks at a lot of different things. I always coach my teams, and they do a great job. We want to be objective, and harvest is our real report card and our learning on what we do, and we're making decisions for the following year, and we learn a lot through harvest. So I mean, safety is a big deal, you know, and just stay objective and make sure that you reach out to your trusted advisors. And it's a great time of year, a lot of anticipation, some unknowns, but I think in the end of the day, you know, hopefully with some good weather and whatnot, we can get a wrap on this crop. But we got a few weeks left, and but we're moving fast.
Very good. Well, thanks for joining us today, John. We appreciate your report here and hope harvest ends well for everyone.
I appreciate the time, and it's great to be in front of your viewers.